My name's Ben Davis. I am a cinematographer, or if you like, DOP or cameraman, one of those titles. Pick which one you want. And I'm here with Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Depending on the size of the film and the budget, I will come on for prep on an independent film. Let's talk specifically about Three Billboards. Would have been about 5 or 6 weeks of prep. On larger studio movies, they may be up to 10 weeks of prep. So I will come on 6 weeks beforehand in the planning process, mostly starting with script and meetings with director, discussing an approach, and then that becomes more of a planning process and logistics. Hopefully you don't lose sight of the creative process during that period. Then prep will finish and we'll start principal photography. And again, depending on the type of film, size of the film, independent films between 6 and 8 weeks. Larger projects can be up to 95 days shooting, but yeah, and some projects I know that are going to be 25 days. So then we'll start principal photography. Usually at the end of principal photography, that will end my involvement in the film for some time until the edit is finished, and then I'll be involved in post-production, visual effects, approvals and grading at the end of that process. For me, prep is one of the most enjoyable parts of a film because usually what happens in prep is you start off with the creative ambition. So it starts like that and usually ends with the financial reality. The two things are never the same, sadly. So it's that process. So it will start off with mostly, there'll be the 3 core people in that process. Will be the designer, director and DP. And you'll start with the creative ambition. What you want the film to be, what you want it to look like, how you want it to be photographed. And that'll involve references, and they could be, the reference points could be anything. They could come, usually for me, the reference points I'm interested in are visual. So they'll come from paintings, still photography, other films. So you start off with the creative ambition and look at references, and then you'll get into choosing your locations, location scouts, and then it's about, for me, depending on the type of film, it'll be, sort of the reality, the science of it, which is working out lighting, diagrams, how you're going to light stages if there are stages involved, and how you might handle equipment at different locations, what time of day you want to shoot, and that's the process. Particularly when you do a film which is financed by multiple companies, for instance, or multiple financiers, there'll be a point where, as a DP, you're asked to turn. They'll come in for meetings during your prep process and say, hey, and they'll talk to the director about the script, and then I will be called into a room somewhere, and they'll say, so what's the film? What are you thinking? What's the film going to look like? With Martin's films, it's very hard to pinpoint his work because he's a unique voice. So I said, I'm not going to give you any particular reference points, but I could tell you that the film we want it to be we want it to have Martin's reference points, if there are any, are in 70s filmmaking. So we wanted to sort of pay homage to that in a way. And for me, with that particular film, with Three Billboards, my guiding principle with it was to keep it as real as possible, because the characters are all quite extraordinary, and the dialogue is very poetic and kind of, and I just felt we really needed to root the characters into something real, So it was that, and a lot of the principle about photographing it was to sort of let the actors do what they want to get out of the way. Really, I didn't want people to be looking at the cinematography and going, "Oh, what a beautiful shot! That's great." I didn't want to do long, lingering shots through doorways, because really, when you've got that, it's a study of character. It's not, it's a different kind of movie. Every movie's different. I'm not saying that that's the way you photograph every movie, but for that, every movie has its own language visually, I think. No, I wanted it to be, obviously I wanted it to be beautiful, and I wanted it to have a poetry about it visually. Although the script was very structured, you know, Martin's very adheres to the written word precisely. You know, he's a playwright. So the script was, you need to adhere to, but you also need to maneuver around it very quickly and to react to something, particularly when you have actors and actresses like we had. You know, you need to be very quick to respond. So so this was a very small unit. So we had 2 cameras on first unit with a very small crew with each. You know, first AC, second AC grip, 2 cameras. And we kept it very straight like that, very simple. I like to shoot with 2 cameras. I always think that's an advantage, particularly if there's any improvisation going on. You can cross shoot, which I think gives the editor a far easier job of cutting those things together. And I like to also put cameras. It sometimes can be very interesting, particularly when you're dealing with people like Sam and Francis, is to have a camera on the reaction to the dialogue. It's the camera that's shooting the people off, you know, who aren't saying the words. Their reactions can actually be as interesting as the dialogue itself. No, every film's challenging and every day is challenging. You know, the challenge of low-budget filmmaking is that time. You know, there's always a ticking clock that you're trying to deal with. But you know, to be honest, Three Billboards was a joy to make from beginning to end. You know, you get there in the morning and there'd be this sort of buzz of anticipation about what the day's work was. You know, it doesn't matter what it is, in a way, just shoot. I did that to begin with, and you know, I've shot some real old load of crap at times, you know, but I kept shooting. I mean, and that, you know, because when you do the things and you make the mistakes and you do the bad, you learn just as much from those as from the good work, you know. You learn when things are, you know, so just shoot as much as you can would be my, doesn't matter what it is, just keep shooting, keep filming, because you'll learn something every time.